Yeah, now you know why this film's getting reviewed. So let's talk about it in today's review of Rally Road Racers. I'm just gonna start this review by saying, how did this film get to exist? Sure, I know that this film is made by Vanguard Animation, the same studio that was behind Happily Never After. And I did remember myself having my moments when I'm trying to check out this film, but I never said I enjoyed watching it. But besides that film, we have Rally Road Racers. With this, in case you people are wondering, how bad is Rally Road Racers is compared to how people would describe the film. The plot of the film is centered around Xi, who is also the dreamer that always wants to drive, but is shunned by a lot of people, including her grandma, who actually doubt that he isn't going to drive, and actually don't think he's going to be the greatest driver out there. But then one day, when he actually trains and succeeds his test driving by his old trainer Gandhi, he gets a chance to be part of the race and up against the main villain of the film, which is Archie, in order to actually win the race and actually show people that he's actually what he actually wants to be to make his dreams come true. And as you can obviously tell, this film it plays it way too generic. That doesn't make the film stand out between other films as well, making the story predictable and dull from beginning to end. And sure, there is the other side of the humor where it could fix every problems in the film if the film feature is funny as well. But here's the biggest problem. Just like Happy Never After, the film is not funny. Cause I never even got myself a chuckle between the jokes. They even made me feel agonized, confused, and even a bit uncomfortable. I guess it just shows on how Vanguard has not even changed his jokes since Happily Never After did. All the time the film feels like it just wants to be Pixar with their plot. The film itself felt like it took too many notes from Cars, down to the point where it feels like it's close to being called a ripoff. And I'm not too surprised by that, because in Happily Never After they did the same thing with Shrek's story. And it doesn't really surprise me that they do the same thing with Cars for this movie. And with a story that's barely predictable, barely original, and not even that funny to begin with, is there even a point to watching the film in the first place? As for the characters, just like the story, they can be just generically dull and too tedious at times whenever they actually start to have more screen time, and makes them feel a lot more worse than you probably think of them as. First, we got C, the dreamer who wants to be the racer ever since he was a child and got that chance, and soon as he becomes the racer, he becomes egotistically annoying. Around the same ranks as Hank from Paths of Fury, where he's just too head up onto the race itself, and it doesn't really help people that he also has a fear on how the cars will actually catch up with him. So he's just basically the generic protagonist trying to accomplish his goal. And then there's his trainer Nash, who's basically like the old racer who retired, who actually used to team up with She's mother. And also another thing about this guy is that he's played by J.K. Simmons. What on earth is Omni-Man and Kai doing in the film? But as for J.K. Simmons himself, as he played in the role, he mostly just sounded bored throughout the movie. Almost like he was just forced to play the acting role right before he gets the hell out of there. There's also Shelby, who is She's love interest, who also works for the villain, which is also of course the generic lie reveal, and as soon as she gets revealed, well, you probably guess either way. And then there's Archie, the main racer of the racers, who actually always comes in first place, and is also the inspired racer that she used to grow up with, but of course turned out to be the villain of the film. And of course, he is also played by... Yep, King Harold from Shrek 2, or in this case, John Cleese. And just like J.K. Simmons, he doesn't really put too much effort despite being going over the top in his dialogue. But the most obnoxious characters in the film are his so-called geckos, who are obviously minion rip-offs that are only just made to give it some cheap dumb laughs. And it doesn't really help either that we got them throughout the last decade, so why have them again in this decade? If the best way I can describe the characters is that they're just nothing but copy and pasted personalities, and that's all that there is to them. Moving on to the visuals. Is there anything in the animation of Rally Road Racers is that Vanguard has actually improved since Happily Never After? Well, sort of. There are some things I can give positives to, while there are a bit some negative in the animation as well. But I'll start with some of the good stuff before we get into the bad stuff, just to end this review off a bit of some negativity. The first things I can start off with is that the backgrounds and where the characters drive in or just chat in with are actually well designed, like with the home that C lives in, some of the racing courses that the other racers go into, and I'll even give that some of the vehicles and their abilities do all kind of give out some creative moments, and they do look good until when they can actually make them look different compared to each other. However, this is where my positivity ends until we get into the negative zone. With the character designs, they're going a bit of a Looney Tunes type of style, if Looney Tunes was a bit 3D-ish, if you don't count Space Jam and Legacy. And it can be a bit of a mix, where the Loises do look okay with some decent textures and okay fur textures on them as well. The other animals look quite off. And even for like goats like Gandhi, and even for the seahorses. Even the character animation is not really smooth, and it's a lot more stiff and janky. And other parts of it too is that even though this animation is improved, is that the technology is still weak. Heck, I think that the use of computers is a lot more weak than the talent, which shows on how much of a performance the technology gave more so than the animators themselves with the talent they were given. And sure, I'll guess I'll give that the visuals look passable if it was a TV series. Well, not really, but it's an okay one, and has improved from Happily Never After. But that's not really saying much for something that's Vanguard like. In conclusion, Rally Road Racers is nothing but an hour and a half waster, where it wants to make you watch the film, waste your hour on one day, and that's it. And it doesn't really help either that this is coming from Vanguard, where the film itself has a bland and predictable story from beginning to end, and some very awful uses of jokes that make me feel confused and irritated at times. Some animation that was a big upgrade compared to their recent films, but doesn't really help with it being a stiff and bland use of it. And other characters that makes you feel confused and even irritating. And even use of actors didn't feel like they put much care into it. And not even for like the talented ones like J.K. Simmons and John Cleese would be able to put a band-aid on this issue. My recommendation for you is just watch other racing films like Cars and other films like that. At least they will give you more of a car experience than Rally Road Racers. Which is the same reason I'm giving this the seal of bad. As soon as I heard that this was made by the same people who did Happy Never After, which is Vanguard, I can already tell things were going off on a rough start. But hey, at least I can thank this guy for giving me the request, so good on you. Next time on Kyle's Reviews is...